Christians face more persecution than any other religion in the world, especially in the United Kingdom. This truth is confirmed by the account of a woman who had a brief experience in hell, died, and was taken to that terrifying afterlife where she met the late Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen revealed to her the deepest reason for the injustice Christians face and the sweeping global agenda of cleansing aging. It is heartbreaking, but we must stand firm, be loyal to the Lord, and never bow down to Him. Now I will read this sister's vision. Please listen carefully, pray and ask the Lord to grant you discernment. Subscribe to our channel and join us in spreading God's light. Every step you take here is a declaration of faith. Let's now listen to this woman's testimony. My name is Eva, and I live in a quiet village outside London. After a day of fasting and prayer, something extraordinary happened that changed my life forever. Troubled by the news about the increasing restrictions on religious gatherings, especially in the United Kingdom, I sought God's guidance. The weight of the more than 700 hate crimes against Christians reported last year weighed heavily on me. Some attacks were violent, others subtle, such as insults scrawled on church walls or whispered threats. A Christian teacher lost her jobs for sharing a Bible verse online. She didn't preach it out loud but posted it discreetly on her personal page. Another report spoke of believers being denied banking services or investigated for views previously considered biblical truths. For many, this hostility seemed normal, as if hating Christians was a part of life. The public silence, even in churches, stirred a deep unease in me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing faster than we were prepared for. This led me to fast and pray, not because I had answers, but because I trusted God to protect them. His people. My heart ached for those facing these trials, and I longed for clarity. On the second day of fasting, a strange feeling came over me as I walked down the stairs. My vision blurred, my legs weakened, and I stumbled, falling to the floor below. My head hit the floor, and pain ripped through me as darkness swallowed my sight. I felt a sudden movement, as if my soul was being ripped from my body. A blast of cold, cutting air enveloped me as I entered a long, dark tunnel. The air grew hotter with each moment, heavy with a weight I couldn't name. Distant flashes of reddish light pierced the darkness like warnings of what was to come. I was no longer home. I was traveling to a place I could not yet understand. A figure appeared beside me, tall and wrapped in a light that shimmered like liquid silver. Her presence radiated gentle authority and commanded fearless respect. When I asked why she was in that horrible place, her voice spoke directly to my calm, clear mind. She said, "I was here by order of the chosen King of Kings to witness a vital truth. The path we traveled wound its way through the chaos of hell. Souls separated as we passed, their tormented faces turned away from the host light. This realm was not organized by geography or gender but by lives led and sins committed. Souls with similar regrets clustered together, and their shared pain bound them together in groups of despair. Some were chained to shining stones, their sins of avarice etched in the rock. Others wandered in circles, their lies reproduced in distorted echoes tormented his ears. The organization was divine, each soul placed according to the choices that defined them. I marveled at the precision, perceiving a justice beyond human understanding. The guide's light pierced the darkness, a beacon amid the sulphurous haze. The demons hissed and retreated, unable to bear its glare. The air around him was clean, a stark contrast to the smell of decay. His presence steadied me and guided me toward a destiny I could not yet see. The souls of the deceivers huddled together, their faces marked by the lies they told. Those who lived for power were destined to fall on crumbling thrones, and their screams were louder than those of the rest. The guide explained that each soul's place reflected the true loyalty of their heart. This order was not accidental but a mirror of their earthly life. The path wound through pits of fire where the souls of the proud burned, whose arrogance was now their chains. Others who rejected mercy were left isolated, their loneliness was a punishment. The guide's voice remained steadfast, revealing the purpose behind each location. I listened, absorbing the weight of divine justice. The guide's light grew brighter, illuminating scenes of torment with painful clarity. The souls of the unrepentant were forced to confront their sins, their regrets etched into their flesh. The organization was relentless. Each group was a testament to the consequences of a life apart from God. I walked in silence, aided by the truth unfolding before me. The demons kept their distance. Their malice was no match for the guide's authority. The air around us was pure, a bubble of peace in a sea of suffering. The guide's presence was a promise that I was not alone in this vision. His light guided me toward a moment of revelation yet to come. The screams of the souls gradually faded as we walked further. Their torment was a backdrop for the guide's calm. Those who lived for pleasure, they were tied to fleeting illusions. Their desires were now their torture. The guide's words echoed in my mind, urging me to see the truth of her choices. This was a lesson I was to take back to the world. The path narrowed and led to a specific section of hell where a solitary figure waited. The guide's light intensified, preparing me for what lay ahead. The organization of souls was an incredible map, each location a warning of the cost of sin. I followed, ready to face the next truth on this journey. We stopped in a desolate area where a woman sat on a crumbling throne. Its surface was charred and jagged. Her screams echoed, but her regal posture was unmistakable, a shadow of earthly grandeur. I recognized Queen Elizabeth II, and that sight struck me deeply. Here in the heart of hell, no title spared her from divine judgment. The throne was surrounded by flames. Its red glow illuminated her anguished face. Dark entities swirled around her. Their laughter was a cruel mockery of her former majesty. They chanted air titles and their claws cut the air with contempt. Air-tattered robes hung in tatters, a mockery of air royal splendor. The air was thick with sulfur. The stench of burnt stone mingled with their screams. Air hands clutched the throne's blackened and splintered arms as if clinging to a lost legacy. The heat was a living force that fed on air suffering, yet I remained untouched, protected by the guide's radiant light. The demons mimicked her, their forms transformed into grotesque courtiers, bowing playfully. Their eyes, wide with pain, met hers, a silent plea for understanding. The flames grew, and their tendrils licked at her soul, but she stood firm. This was a queen, now a prisoner of her choices. The base of the throne was carved with symbols of the reign, now distorted into accusations. The crowns melted into embers, the scepters became shattered into thorns. The demons' taunts grew louder, their voices grew louder, a cacophony of hatred. I felt the weight of their tragedy, a ruler fallen to eternal torment. The ground beneath her cracked and oozed black slime that hissed like poisonous snakes. Her screams softened into raw, desperate wails, as if she mustered the strength to speak. The air grew hotter and the stench more oppressive, yet she remained safe. The guide's light flickered, signaling her time to confess. The entities circled ever closer, their claws slashing at her throne, causing flames to burn brighter. This was the heart of my vision, a truth yet to be revealed. The demons' laughter echoed, and their forms twisted in parodies of their royal court. Her hands trembled, charred by the heat, as if searching for a past he could not recover. The guide's light stabilized. Her crown, once a symbol of authority, now burned about her like ring of torment. The demon's eyes shone with joy at their opportunity, a cruel hymn to her fall. I stood before her, ready to hear her truth. The ground shook as if hell itself resisted her presence. Queen Elizabeth's voice came to my mind not as a sound but as a heavy stream of sorrow-laden thoughts. She spoke of her 70-year reign celebrated as a golden age of art, commerce, and culture. Statues were erected in her honor, her name was immortalized in books and song, yet she confessed that all that glory was dust before his kingdom was a facade of sea, with prayers echoing in state ceremonies and crosses glittering on coins. Behind the gilded palace doors, his family and advisers mocked true devotion. They saw Christianity not as a truth to be upheld but as a leash to control the masses. This hypocrisy cut deeper into his soul than the flames surrounding her. The fire roared, its red glow casting shadows that writhed like accusing spirits. His words seemed a desperate plea. Each confession was a step toward a truth he could no longer deny. The guide's light shone steadily, illuminating the depth of his repentance. I remained silent, burdened by the weight of his deception. He described sumptuous banquets at which clergy offered blessings with hollow words in rooms filled with mockery. The royal court saw the faith as a relic useful only to ensure the loyalty of the people. This betrayal was deliberate, a calculated plan, to wield power without God. Her voice trembled in my mind, burdened by the choices she made. The demons sang nearby, their voices were a cruel echo of her earthly lies. Her once majestic throne was now crumbling, every crack was a symbol of her empty reign. The heat pressed down on me with a suffocating force, but the guide's light protected me. Her confession was a warning meant to pierce the heart of the world. She recounted private moments in the palace where her family laughed at the fervor of the believers. They called them fools, blind to the power of true faith. Public rituals were staged, mere performances to appease the masses and hide their disdain. This duplicity burned in her soul with a regret fiercer than hellfire. The air was thick with ash, and the odor of sulfur choked her every breath. Her eyes, wide open in anguish, seemed to ask for someone to hear her truth. The guide's light pulsed softly, urging me to listen closely. It was not only his story but a lesson for the entire nation. His reign, once a beacon of progress, was now revealed as a mirage. The wealth, the palaces, the adoration of millions, all vanished in this place of eternal truth. His confession laid bare the cost of a life without God. I felt the weight of his words, knowing they were meant to awaken the sleeping. The demons' taunts grew louder, and their forms distorted into parodies of their own. Royal courtiers bowed in mockery, and their claws cut the air with contempt. His hands trembled as if seeking an opportunity to undo his past. The guide's presence was a shield that guided me through the pain of his revelation. The earth shook as if hell itself scorned his honesty. His story was a mirror that reflected the dangers of a government based on empty faith. The guide's voice echoed in my spirit, urging me to bear this truth. I stood prepared, my heart stirred by the urgency of his confession. He spoke of state funerals were wrapped in religious symbols but lacked spiritual weight. The clergy's prayers were pre-arranged and their presence was another element in her theater of power. This betrayal of faith was a wound that could not heal. Her words were a call to reject the false promises of the world. The flames increased, and their heat was a reflection of her inner torment. The ruins of her throne glowed faintly, etched with the symbols of the reign, now twisted into accusations. The laughter of demons sounded grating, a reminder of the lies she lived through. I heard her watching the tragedy of a queen who traded God for glory. The air grew heavier, and the stench of decay was a constant assault. Her confession revealed a tribunal that mocked the cross while bearing its image. The light of the guide remained a beacon piercing the darkness. This was a truth destined to shake the foundations of the unfaithful. She described advisers who murmured against the believers, urging her to see them as threats. Their advice shaped a kingdom where faith was a tool, not a truth. Her repentance was palpable, a fire that consumed her more than the flames. I was amazed, knowing it was a message for history. The demons drew closer, their forms changing to mimic the gestures of their family. Their eyes pleaded as if longing for someone to learn from their mistakes. The guide's light pulsed brighter, signaling the importance of her words. This was a call to live for God, not for the world's applause. The ground shook again, and the cracks beneath her throne widened. The legacy of her reign was a cautionary tale, a warning against a life of pretense. The guide's presence calmed me and prepared me to share this truth. I felt the weight of her story, a mission to awaken the church. The flames cast shadows that danced across her face, revealing her anguish. She spoke of a nation led astray by her hand, whose faith had been reduced to a ritual. The guide's light gave me a promise of protection in this storm. This was a call to reject the empty faith she embodied. The air was stifling, and the stench was a reminder of his eternal state. His confession was a plea for the living to choose differently. The guide's voice urged me to see the larger lesson. This was a truth I must carry with me, a warning to cling to God. The devil's taunts faded slightly, his power diminished by his honesty. His throne crumbled to ashes, a symbol of his fallen glory. The guide's light shone brighter, a beacon in the darkness. I stood firm, ready to share his story with the world. His final words endured, a cry to the living to embrace the true faith. The flames roared their warmth, a testimony to his repentance. The guide's presence was my anchor, guiding me to carry this message. This was a call to live for eternity, not earthly crowns, the Queen unleashed a silent war against Christianity, waged through a silent strategy to eliminate it. Cunning policies and regulations restricted the hours and places of worship, citing the need to maintain public order. Church bells fell silent under noise ordinances, and zoning laws blocked new sanctuaries. These measures, camouflaged as progress, sought to uproot the foundations of faith. Each law was a deliberate step, disguised as civic harmony. Permits for religious gatherings were delayed or denied, forcing believers to retreat to hidden corners. Fines emptied the church's coffers, weakening its ability to stand. She admitted that these were intentional, designed to extinguish the light of Christianity. The flames grew, their heat reflecting her burning repentance. Demons mocked her, chanting the laws she once enforced. The light of guidance remained steadfast, illuminating the truth of her confession. I saw the pattern of a silent persecution brewing. She described how complaints turned into up in arms against the churches. Her hymns were called disruptive. Zoning boards rejected building plans, claiming they clashed with the community's aesthetic. These actions were subtle, but they violated the freedom of faith. Her voice was gravelly, each word was a confession of her role in this war. The air was thick with sulfur, a constant reminder of her torment. Her throne glowed dimly, its surface etched with the policies she championed. The guide's presence anchored me, her light pierced the gloom. It was a call to recognize the enemy's hidden tactics. The laws spread like a slow poison, unnoticed by many until the sea was cornered. Small congregations closed, unable to pay the mounting fines. The Queen's regret was intense. Her words were a warning about this silent attack. I absorbed her truth, knowing it was meant for the church. The demons' laughter echoed, their claws slashing the air with cruel delight. She spoke of the counselors who they created these laws, their disdain for the faith masked by polite smiles. The heat intensified, but I remained safe, protected by the guide's light. This was a burden I had been chosen to bear. The ground shook as if hell resented their confession. Their policies remained in place, and their legacy fueled persecution in the outside world. The guide's voice urged me to share. This warning was a call to resist, to keep the flame of faith alive. He recounted how noise complaints were directed at rural churches, their bells silenced to appease a few. Urban congregations faced zoning denials, their plans buried in red tape. These were not random acts, but a strategy to marginalize believers. Their confession revealed a kingdom drifting away from God. The air grew thicker, sweltering decay and an oppressive weight. Their eyes burned with a plea for someone to stem this tide. The light of the guide pulsed, signaling the urgency of his message. I stood firm, ready to bring this truth to the faithful. The demons sang their voices, a cruel hymn to his policies. The ruins of his throne were a testament to his failure. Every crack was a mark of his betrayal. The guide's presence was a beacon guiding me through the chaos. This was a mission to awaken the church to its unseen enemies. He spoke of councils where laws were debated whose true purpose lay behind the public welfare. The counselors argued that faith disturbed unity, urging her to act. Her repentance was a fire that consumed her, hotter than the flames that surrounded her. I listened, sensing the depth of her deception. The flames roared, their light revealed their anguish. Small, once vibrant churches faded under the weight of their laws. The guide's light reassured me, a promise of protection. This was a call to oppose the subtle erosion of faith. The air was stifling, the stench a constant aggression. His confession was a roadmap to persecution, a truth to face. The guide's presence guided me, preparing me to share this warning. I was ready, my heart moved by his plea. The demons' taunts grew louder, their ways mimicked those of their executioners. Their policies were a silent killer, suffocating faith from within. The guide's light pulsed more strongly, urging me to understand the lesson. It was a call to protect the church from such cunning attacks. The earth shook as if hell scorned its honesty. Their laws had sown division and were now bearing fruit in the world's hostility. The guide's voice echoed, urging me to act. This was a mission to unite believers against this silent war. The flames grew, their heat reflected his torment. He described a nation led astray by his hand, its faith reduced to whispers. The guide's presence was my anchor, guiding me forward. This was a call to rekindle the fire of true worship. The stench grew thicker and more oppressive. His confession was a plea to restore faith's place in the world. The guide's light shone brighter, a beacon in the darkness. I stood firm, ready to share this truth with the church. The demon's laughter faded slightly, their power diminished with his words. His throne crumbled further, a symbol of his broken legacy. The guide's presence reassured me. Preparing to carry this message was a call to resist the darkness, to let God's light shine. His last words lingered, a scream, to awaken the faithful before it was too late. The flames roared, their heat bearing witness to her repentance. The guiding light gave me a promise of purpose. This was a mission to stand firm, to protect the church from silent persecution. The Queen confessed her fear of believers who placed God above her crown. Her loyalty to a higher power was a challenge she could not master. This fear drove her to attack Christians, considering them threats to her absolute rule. What began as political caution grew into a conviction to eliminate the influence of faith. She saw religion as a barrier to progress, a relic to be discarded. For her, devout believers were rebellious. Their loyalty to God was a challenge to her authority. This fear shaped the reign. Every policy was a blow to faith. Her voice was firm, but laden with regret. The flames grew, casting shadows across her ruined throne. Demons mocked her fears, their claws slicing through the air. Contempt. The guide's light remained constant, illuminating the truth of her confession. I remained silent, impressed by the depth of her paranoia. She spoke of secret councils where the advisors warned of the unifying power of faith. They feared a movement that could rival the throne, driven by God's call. This drove her to control religion, reducing it to a shadow of itself. Her words were a warning of the price of ambition. The air was thick with icy sulfur, a relentless assault. Her eyes bored into mine, pleading for someone to understand her error. The guide's presence shielded me from the heat. This was a lesson in the danger of fearing God's truth. She admitted to having convinced herself that faith was outdated, a threat to her modern vision. Her laws marginalized believers, silencing their voices in public squares. The weight of her decisions was evident, a burden she carried in eternity. I listened, knowing this was for the church. The demon's taunts grew stronger, they mimicked her royal court. Her throne crumbled further, each crack symbolized the failure of the reign. The guide's light pulsed, urging me to understand the larger lesson. Her fear was a reflection of the world's resistance to God. The earth shook as if hell itself. I spurned her confession. Her story revealed the root of her fall, rejecting God for the sake of power. The guide's voice echoed, calling me to share this truth. Sharing this truth was a call to stand firm without fear of earthly powers. She described private meetings where advisors painted believers as extremists. They urged her to see faith as a threat to stability, not a virtue. Her repentance was a fire burning within her, fiercer than the flames surrounding her. I saw the tragedy of a queen consumed by fear. The flames roared, their light revealed her trembling hands. Her kingdom was built on control, not faith, a decision that led to her torment. The guide's presence he reassured me like a beacon in the darkness. This was a mission to inspire believers to persevere. The air grew thicker, the stench more oppressive. His confession was a plea to choose God over fear. The light of guidance guided me, preparing me to carry this message. I was ready, my heart stirred by his warning. He spoke of policies born in candlelit chambers where faith was mocked as weakness. His court feared the power of a people united by God, a force no crown could rival. This fear drove her to act, a decision she now regretted. I listened, seeing the magnitude of her error. The demon circled closer, his forms transformed to mimic his advisors. The ruins of his throne gleamed, faintly etched with the fears he harbored. The light of guidance throbbed more strongly, pointing out the importance of his words. It was a call to live courageously for God. The ground shook again, the cracks beneath his throne they expanded. The legacy of her reign was a warning against fearing faith. The guide's presence strengthened me, preparing me to share this truth. I felt the weight of her story, the mission to awaken the church. The flames cast shadows that danced across her face, revealing her anguish. Described a nation led astray by her fear, her faith stifled by her hand. The guide's light gave me a promise of protection. It was a call to reject the fear that had led her astray. The air was stifling, the stench a constant reminder of her condition. Her confession was a guide to the fall of a kingdom, a truth to face. The guide's presence calmed me, urging me to act. This was a mission to encourage believers against such fears. The demon's taunts faded slightly. Her power diminished by her honesty. Her throne crumbled to ashes, a symbol of her fallen glory. The guide's light shone brighter, a beacon in the gloom. I stood firm, ready to share her warning with the world. The flames grew, their heat reflecting her torment. She spoke of a crown that feared the cross, a decision that led to her doom. The guide's presence was my anchor, guiding me forward. This was a call to stand firm before God, without fear of the worldly powers. The air grew thicker, the stench more oppressive. Her confession was a plea for the living to choose faith over fear. The light of the guide pressed, signaling the urgency of her message. I was ready. My heart stirred. Through her tears, her final words hardened, a call to embrace God's truth without hesitation. The flames roared their heat, a testimony of her repentance. The light of the guide gave me a promise of purpose. This was a mission to inspire the church to stand firm and fearless in faith. Warning, the demon's laughter echoed, its claws slashing with glee. His system was a silent killer, destroying the church from within. The guide's presence guided me, encouraging me to act. This was a call to stand firm, to protect the church from within and without. The Queen's final plea was to choose Christ today, for tomorrow is not promised. She would trade all her earthly power for a chance to kneel before Jesus as Lord. His voice was urgent, a call to embrace the faith openly without fear. I have urged the living to let their faith shine in a darkened world. His throne crumbled to ashes, his former royal form vanished in the fire. The demons retreated, silenced by the sincerity of his confession. The presence of the guide strengthened me with his light. He gave me the power to carry this message. I stood ready, moved by the urgency. From his cry, the flames grew, their heat reflected his inner torment. He spoke of the second chance the living have, a grace I could no longer claim. The guide's presence reassured me, a beacon in the midst of chaos. This was a mission to inspire others to choose faith. Now the ground shook as if hell scorned his desperate plea. His voice grew louder, a cry for the living to turn to God before it was too late. The guide's light shone brighter, a promise of divine purpose. I felt the burden of his words, a wake-up call for the church. The demons sang, their forms transformed to imitate their former glory. His plea was a fire that burned away their mockery, a truth they could not silence. The guide's presence was my shield, walking me through the storm. This was a call to stand firm, to let God's light shine. The air grew thicker, the stench more oppressive. His confession was a plea for the living to choose differently, to accept the cross. She did it. He rejected the light of the guide throbbed more strongly, signaling the importance of his message. I stood firm, ready to bring this truth to the world. The flames cast shadows on his face, revealing his eternal pain. He spoke of a life where this could still be lived openly, an opportunity I longed for. The guide's presence grounded me, propelling me to action. This was a mission to encourage believers to live for eternity. The demons' taunts faded, their power diminished thanks to his honesty. The ruins of his throne were testimony to his lost opportunity. The light of the guide guided me, a beacon in the darkness. I was ready, my heart moved by his final cry. The earth shook as if hell was offended by his plea. His words were a wake-up call, a warning to choose God before time ran out. The guide's voice echoed, urging me to share this truth. This was a call to inspire the church to embrace the cinema. The flames they roared, their heat reflected their anguish, described a world where this could still shine if only the living would act. The guide's presence reassured me with a promise of protection. Hasta era unimisión para despedir los fieles a su llamado la risa del demonio resolutamente su malicia no era rival para su sinceridad su trono se derrumbó en más símbolo de su gloria que de la presencia del guía fumi ancla guiándome su adelante este fue un llamado a viva para Dios a rechazar las coronas efímeras del mundo despati en el suelo de mi casa con la cabeza palpitante y la sangre acumulándose debajo de mi la vision me cuaba el alma sus imágenes vividas y inagables lema mi esposo quien me leva